May bless our guest of honor. Lord, I pray that you may bless Equity Bank management team. And that, Lord, as we start this ceremony this morning, you are going to be with us and we will be blessed of you. We pray all this in the name of God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
You may be seated. Thank you very much, Reverend. After that wonderful word of prayer, our chief guest, the Education Ministry CAS, Dr. Sarah, County Directors of Education, National and County Government officials present, the Community Scholarship Selection Board members, Community Scholarship Advisory Committee members present, our equity agents, all other invited guests, our Elimu and Wings to Fly scholars. God is good. Assalamu alaikum. I want to take this opportunity to welcome our host, Pangani Girls High School Principal, Madam Florence, to welcome us officially to these grounds. Karibu, Madam.
Thank you for that invitation. Our chief guest, Education CS, Dr. Sarah Luto, CEO, Equity, Dr. James Mwangi, all the officers from the education sector and from Equity, and all the scholars, all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. God is good, and all the time. I'm the principal Pagani Girls, and my name is Florence Garari. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you all, our chief guests, to Pagani Girls. And I appreciate that you found it good to come and have these scholars be in this compound. It is not just about the event, but we feel honored and humbled to be with these scholars in this institution. I want to appreciate that on behalf of the Board of Management and the entire fraternity of Pagani Girls. We don't take it for granted. I want to believe, since the scholars reported on Sunday, they have been comfortable and they have interacted well, and I want to believe we have tried to do our best to make them comfortable. And as I do my welcoming remarks, I want to appreciate this program because we have been one of the beneficiaries of this program. We always have students sponsored by this foundation, and we have seen those students in our school coming out in a very outstanding way in terms of performance and in terms of character. When the students are going for readers in school, they tend to pick, most of them are usually the scorers, to be captains. So they offer very good leadership in school, and we really appreciate. And I want to say, for the last 4 years, every girl in Pagani, sponsored by Equity, Wings to Fly, and other organization, they transit 100% to the university. And we really feel good. because you make a great impact. Last year we had about that girls who were sponsored and all transited to university. So thank you so much. We want to continue working with you, and any other time you are most welcome to Pagani. Thank you and God bless you.
A better round of applause for Madame, a better round of applause for our host. Thank you very much, Madam Florence, for your kind remarks and warm reception of our scholars and us in these grounds. Thank you very much. As you all know, the entire selection process has been coordinated and run by selection boards and committees, advisory committees. And at this juncture, allow me to invite a representative of all the selection committees and advisory boards that we had in Nairobi County, Mr. Raphael Musyoki, to make remarks on behalf of those two boards and selection committees. Mr. Raphael Musyoki.
Thank you. Our distinct guests, government officials present, Wings to Fly and Elimu scholars, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning once again. Yeah, my name is Raphael Musyoki, the Sub-County Director of Education, Dagoretti Sub-County in Nairobi region. I am representing the various chairs who were in charge of this program in our respective counties within our region. And on their behalf, I want to say Scholarship Selection Board, Community Scholarship Advisory Committee, that I am happy to see the progress we have made since the Wings to Fly program was rolled out in 2010 and Elimu in 2020. Today we are joined by leaders from our region, Equity Bank fraternity, and the community at large to flag off students that have been selected for the 2021 class of the Wings to Fly and the Elimu scholarship programs. This is a new journey that will no doubt change the trajectory of your education journey. I wish to congratulate all of you for making it and receiving the Wings to Fly scholarships. I know it hasn't been an easy experience, that I am glad that you overcome challenges and you emerged victorious. As one of the chairmen of the selection boards, I wish to report that each year we have witnessed continued increase in the number of students sending their applications for consideration to be part of this successful program. We have not been able to accommodate all the students who apply. For instance, this year we received over 10,000 applications, but were only able to take up 1,230. I am glad to note that the Wings to Fly and the Elimu scholarship have had tremendous impact in the lives of our people in this country since it was launched 12 years and 2 years ago, respectively. The two programs have impacted the lives of students in our region, and this year's intake will scale up the numbers. Through collaborative efforts with various stakeholders, we have seen students go through the program and come back home to initiate positive change in our society. In total, 10,705 academically promising scholars from humble backgrounds who sat the 2020 KCPE examinations have officially commissioned to join the Wings to Fly scholarships and Elimu programs. I call upon all well-wishers, corporate organizations in the area, CDF, and our county government to assist in taking up some of the remaining 8,000 applicants who didn't qualify for the scholarship programs and see them through their secondary education. I wish to appeal to all stakeholders to continue supporting this worthy cause geared towards transforming lives. A combination of Wings to Fly, Elimu, and the CDF scholarship programs, among others, will really give you an education which opens up opportunities for a bright future. To our future leaders who are about to join Form 1, congratulations. Once again, I wish you all the best. Make the most of your opportunities and enjoy what the various schools have to offer. You will meet many other students from different parts of the country. Use your time as a learning experience, both from an educational and a cultural perspective. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Raphael Musyoki, representing the selection boards and the advisory committees in the entire process. Thank you very much. Another round of applause for the committees who did a tremendous job. Thank you very much. At this point, it's all about education, and education is key. I want to take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Hesbon Nyagaka, the Deputy Regional Director of Education, to make his remarks.
Our chief guest, Education CS, Dr. Sarah Ruto, the CEO, Equity Bank, Dr. James Mwangi, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and scholars, good morning. Good morning once again. Allow me to congratulate all the scholars who have managed to be here today. Sir, if I would give a brief for Nairobi, in 2020, over 62,000 candidates sat for the exam. And the majority of these candidates, most of them are from the informal settlement. Equity Bank has held their hands, and today we are seated here with the confidence that we shall be joining our secondary schools. Please let us applaud Equity Bank. Since the onset of Wings to Fly, this is an amazing program which helps clever but needy children to access education. This program has managed to transform students to be courageous, creative, and compassionate leaders who could not have managed secondary or university education. On behalf of the Regional Director of Education, who would have wished to be here and has sent his apology, we wish to thank the Equity Foundation for giving opportunity clever but needy children from the informal settlement to transit to secondary and university education. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to note that the Wings to Fly does not only fill the void of lack of school fees, but also mentor students to be great leaders in future. As we start this journey, remember that we are destined for greater things in the future. In conclusion, Equity Bank has helped the Ministry of Education to achieve its mission and vision with its collective and conscious work towards diversity, equity, and inclusion, hence realizing its 100% transition policy. So from Nairobi, we really want to appreciate the Equity Bank for giving us and for giving these students the opportunity to achieve their dreams. Thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Deputy Director. Another round of applause, tafadhali, for the kind words from the Ministry of Education. Thank you very much. Our chief guests, scholars, and all other invited guests, this program has been taking place all over the country, and I want to take this opportunity at this time to welcome you and to invite you in silence to listen to the stories of other scholars of the entire process in a video that we're just going to receive in a short while. The video, please. Thank you.
The selection of Wings to Fly and Elimu scholarships across Kenya started in earnest in early June. The 2021 selection of the Wings to Fly scholarship program and Elimu Scholars by Equity Group Foundation and partners involved long interview days by Community Scholars Selection Boards, CSSBs, and Community Scholars Advisory Committees, CSAC. Scholars who sat the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education (KCPE) exams and scored over 350 marks were eligible to apply for Wings to Fly scholarships, while those who managed 280 marks and above were encouraged to seek Elimu scholarships.
I came to see what Dr. James Mwengi's team is doing, a very well-composed team. There are 9,000 scholarships. Through the wisdom of the President, we have decided to give 3,000 of them to Kenyan children in slums and informal settlements.
What you do is the most important process in this scholarship. The fact that you do this as pro bono, it's not for pay, it's a give back service to community, is what makes this program powerful. That everybody gives their own time, everybody gives their own resources to make it happen.
Elimu scholarship is really boosting the lives and education of our pupils, especially those children who come from very needy backgrounds.
As human beings, we basically have to assist each other, more so in terms of challenges and problems. And we find that this program of the Equity Bank, the Wings to Fly, has actually done that.
In the remote village of Kanganga in Mbeere South, Caroline Wanja is getting ready for the day. Although she braces to move about, Wanja has not let this physical challenge stop her from pursuing her life's dreams and ambitions.
I scored 215 KCP. I've been gone to Furaha Girls High School in Chuka. I am the third born in this family.
The death of Wanja's father left her mother the responsibility of fending for the family alone.
Some of the challenges that I used to face in school is that I was sent home for food, that is 4 tins of maize and 2 tins of beans, which we used to eat for lunch.
At 1 year old, Brian Ocheng survived a fire that burnt their house and affected one of his hands. Despite his disability, Brian does not see himself as different from other people. Brian lives with his father and 4 siblings in a one-roomed tin house in Mradi village in Mathare 4A slum.
I was told that when my mother went out to look for supper, I was left sleeping. There was a burning candle. When I was about to climb down, the fire catch my sweater, which burnt me my left hand and my eyes.
Although Brian remained home 2 months to sit in KCPE, he managed to score 355 marks.
People do look me like I'm different, but me, I see myself as I am like them, because I can write, I can read, and I can see.
A few kilometers from Lodwar in northeastern Kenya lives 16-year-old Faith Lore. Faith is an orphan, having lost her mother at a tender age. She lives with her aged grandmother. Faith's education at Komponi Primary School was hampered by many challenges. She, however, endured to score 307 marks in the KCPE exams and gain admission to Lodwar Girls High School.
I was living with my mother alone. They got separated with my father, but I don't know where my father goes. And my mother died in 2013. So I must work hard so that I can get help to continue with my studies.
Kama yeye nasoma mzuri, nachukua namba mzuri, takuja kufanyia kazi serikali pamoja na Equity.
Bright Mwambura is a brilliant boy from Kiwandani in Kilifi town. The firstborn child in a family of 8 sat his KCPE 3 days after his mother passed away. Earlier, his father had died in a fall from a coconut tree. The 8 children live under the care of a widowed aunt who has 5 children of her own.
Naishi Kiwandani kwa plot yenye tuliachwa na wazazi wetu, na walivyotuacha walituacha kwa nyumba yenye hata saa hii ni kama imeanguka nusu.
Kazi yangu mimi ni ya kuchemsha mahindi na kuzungusha. Nikipata nigawanye mara mbili, nigawanye chakula huku kiliwe na huku kina bread pia niape chakula awali.
Kisher Morwak is located north of the Masai Mara Game Reserve. The Narok West CSSB members are looking for the home of Lato Mereru, who scored an impressive 397 marks in her KCPE exams.
I and my twin brother, we finished class 8, and my mother was to give me to be married off, and my brother was to go and look after so that we'll get school fees.
In Kisumu, a home verification visit of CSAC members is underway. Cabinet Secretary for Education, Professor George Magoha, leads the committee on a home verification visit. The team arrives at Vincent Odhiambo's home. Vincent lost his father in early childhood, leaving his mother, a tailor, struggling to make ends meet.
I was very active in maths and science. When I got the Elimu scholarship, I was very glad.
For me, I'm seeing a star that is going to shine simply because of this scholarship.
It's another day for the Nyeri CSSB members who are making their way to various homes to ascertain that information given by students shortlisted for admission to the Wings to Fly program is indeed true. At Edward Njoroge's home in Ishagashiru in Tetu, Nyeri, they find the visually impaired mother. Edward is out looking for work to provide for his family. Moments later, Edward arrives to find the CSSB team conducting the verification of his neediness.
I like science because it is understandable very fast. I like English because it is enjoyable. And mathematics because I scored well.
Hussein Noor from Kuno village in Mbalambala sub-county in Garissa County is the only child in the family of 8 who has completed class 8. He is ready for high school, having sat the KCPE exams to get a remarkable 392 marks.
I heard about Wings to Fly when I was in class 7, and I was working hard to get that one.
Another verification visit is at the home of Valerie Ongachi in Ikunza village, Vihiga County. Valerie scored 362 marks in the KCPE exams despite the challenges she faced at home. She lost her father, the breadwinner of the family, in the year 2020. Valerie plans to use the opportunity provided by the Wings to Fly program to achieve her goal of becoming a surgeon.
I was called at my girls' vocally, and when I got the Wings to Fly scholarship, I felt very good because I knew they pay for me school fees, and me, I work hard to achieve my dreams.
These scholars are representative of thousands of others admitted to the Wings to Fly and Elimu scholarships countrywide, giving them an opportunity to pursue their dreams of a better life for themselves, their families, and communities. The Wings to Fly program is an initiative of the Equity Group through the Equity Group Foundation, MasterCard Foundation, KFW, and a generous individual. Elimu Scholarship Program is a partnership between the Equity Group Foundation, the World Bank, and the Government of Kenya.
Thank you very much. Quite touching. And that is a story across the country. But we want to thank God that that is a story that is going to change for the better. At this point, I want to take this opportunity to invite the Equity Group Foundation Executive Chairman, Dr. James Mwangi, to make his remarks. A better one for Dr. James Mwangi. Thank you very much. Welcome, Dr. James.
Chief Administrative Secretary of Education, Dr. Sala Luto, our chief guest today, CEC Environment, Lale Wabua, Nairobi County Director of Education, Gerardo Biro, Apagani Girls High Principal, Florence Garari, and our host, Deputy County Commissioner, Nairobi County Kenha Chairman, Joseph Gitau, Starehe Sub-County Deputy Director of Education, Mathare Sub-County Director of Education, Ruse Musyoka, Starehe Sub-County Deputy County Commissioner, Jacob Ouma, our invited guests, our scholars, teachers and principals are present. It's really a great day to see our kids before us. And moving from that very moving documentary, understanding their circumstances. And as our Master of Ceremony says, seeing a light. And as one of the parents say, she can see a rising star. Mine will be a slightly different, our chief guest. I don't want to make speeches, but let me talk to my children because they go to school. So bear with me because the speech is not intended for you. But as a parent, hopefully you appreciate where we are coming from. I want to really start by appreciating the scholars before us. Madam Chief Administrative Secretary. Before us is 1,283 scholars, combining Elimu scholars and Wings to Fly scholars. These, thank you very much. These are our heroes of the day. They have overcome the circumstances that we saw to achieve the grades that have put them to be here. They represent a resilient generation of young Kenyans who hold to hope against all odds to make progress. And if that is what our country will be in future, then we shall have a great country. Children who, despite their circumstances and situations, cling on hope and know that their effort counts. Today we are celebrating their efforts that made them to be the stars of last year's exam. But they would not be here if it was not for their guardians. As you heard, majority of them from documentary are orphans. But their guardians also shared the same hope and gave their very best to their children in the hope that education would do what it's supposed to do to transform them. And we are here because those parents, those guardians, those neighbors, those aunties, like we had of the auntie in Kwale, looking after her 5 kids and the 4 of her departed sister by roasting maize. That is the effort that has made these children to make it this far. So scholars, I want you to put your hearts together and appreciate your guardians, your parents, and the people who have helped you to be where they are. Thank you very much. They may not be here. You don't always appreciate somebody because they can hear. You appreciate people because it's the right thing to do. Living a life of gratitude. It may inspire somebody else to pick on another child because they felt it makes a difference and it matters. That's why we are appreciating your guardians for bringing you this far. This program, too, could not have been successful if it was not for teachers who devoted passionately to see you through. How many scholars seated here were guided to these 2 programs by their teachers? Raise your hand if you were guided by your teacher to apply on the program. Thank you very much. Dr. Sala, you can see the role the teachers are playing. Florence, our principal, maybe on behalf of the teachers, let's recognize the teachers who are in the room. Praise your teacher. Kindly raise your hand. Better off, why don't you start, we recognize you. Yeah, you should be proud. Very good. Let's put our hands to the teachers. Thank you very much. This program is about community partnerships. The parents played their role. The kids were disciplined. They held to hope. The teachers encouraged them and did what they did. Sometimes we recognize this program without knowing how much partnership there is in community. And Dr. Sala Luto, the teachers of this country are doing a great job and a service. A country that doesn't invest in its youth is busy destroying its future, because it's the youth that really form the body of a future of a country. And when I look at these young scholars and echo the words of our county director for education, of where they have come from, I see great hope. I see greater prosperity in our informal sectors and in our slums. These are the change makers, and I want to really applaud the government, particularly for accepting that 33% of all the scholars under Elimu scholarship goes to informal settlements. When this program, you can really acknowledge. I remember when this program started, it was on the basis of counties. It was, what is the wealth of a county? And of course, Nairobi, because of the well-off to-do estates, was excluded. As Nairobi was not even accorded. And it was a real war, and I really For my entire life, I will always remember C.S. Makoha because he was the first one to understand and helped us to convince the World Bank that average wealth doesn't reflect the individual. Poverty is evenly distributed. And so essentially when you exclude an entire county like Nairobi, and this year we are really glad that we didn't even need to raise our hand. And the ministry really fought hard with the World Bank to increase the portion, particularly that came to Nairobi. With Nairobi having a total of 1,283 out of 1075, Nairobi is getting the lion's share of more than 10% of all the scholarships we are issuing this year. And I want to really to applaud that initiative. The ministry goes much more than just bringing equity in the distribution of these scholarships. The Wings to Fly program was started in 2008. That is 12 years ago. That's when we had our first cohort. And every year we kept on persuading government and saying, like we will continue to say, Salah, this year, that we had 114,000 applications. And out of 114,000, we gave 11,000 scholarships. And my question is, what happens to the other 93,000 kids? And that is always the question I have kept on asking government. I want to say I'm very happy with the initiatives the government has been putting in place. When we really pushed that argument, His Excellency the President, President Uhuru, declared that day secondary schools should be free. And that, you may not get this scholarship, but you still have an alternative instead of staying home. I want to really appreciate the government's effort of making day secondary education free. The second one, the only challenge with that program is that the child doesn't go to the school of their choice. They will have been called to Pagani, but Pagani is not in their village and is not a day school. So they always opt then to go to the nearest day school in Makadala or in Mathale. And the quality of education is not the same. So we deny a child to get a school based on their competence and achievement. But it's better. A bone is better than nothing. So I want to really applaud the government that we have something we are holding on. And also remind the scholars. Last year we had, there were 30 Wings to Fly school, scholars who sat in the exams last year in this school. And all 30 managed to proceed to university. It was not, thank you, Florence. But let me remind you, it was not Pagani that did the exams. It is the students who did the exams. So if you work hard, wherever you are, for those who are listening to us out there who never got this scholarship, those 93, you still succeed in a day school if you are determined. The effort by the government to recognize a private sector program like Wings to Fly and choose to have a public-private partnership and say this program is good and we shall scale it. But today, Wings to Fly program has given out 19,000 scholarships. The government has come and said, we'll match every scholarship that you have given by giving you 18,000 scholarships. So in total, we now have 37,000 scholars under these two programs. That gesture of kindness and magnanimity, Dr. Sala Luto, I will forever remember, because we wanted to make a difference. But with the government scaling up, we made a significant difference. And it teaches me of what private and public sector can achieve if they work together. Dr. Sala, it may please for you to hear that the United Nations program on refugee scholarship is now designed under this program, and we have been requested to assist. You may also take note, because that was the most inspiring, that the honorable member of Jomvu came to us last week and said, we admire the way you have conducted the Wings to Fly and the Elimu scholars. Can you give me the next 64 kids from the program? And they just gave them the entire scholarships, like this program. So this program has continued to inspire. On Monday, I've been invited by the governor of Bungoma, who called me and said, James, we have admired the way your team has done. We have mapped the same program. Can you come and help us launch the Bungoma Wings to Fly program? So everybody is copying. It is copying because the government have set the example. The government has inspired. So we can't be able to say how grateful we are, but in whichever words, Dr. Sala, you find, convey our gratitude to the CS Education, to His Excellency the President, for the privilege and honor of being given a chance to serve the underprivileged in our society in a scaled and a sustainable manner. I've talked a lot about education, but these kids are here again because of the county scholarship selection board and advisory boards. And for the last 12 years, I've participated in selection and home visits. And it's the most draining moment in my life. I'm a very optimistic person, very jovial. But the week of going for home visit and interviews is the most distressing week for me in an entire year. What we saw here were not stories, they were not statistics. That is the lives that these children have been living. The 114,000 who applied because their circumstances were not different. But you had only 10,705 scholarships. So for every 11 applications, Dr. Sala, only one child was given a scholarship. It amazes me how the selection boards picks one child out of 11. That act of ceremonic wisdom is what leads them to the entire crop of 30 scholars in Pagani, all proceeding to university. These boards have managed to now pick attitude. And the kids that we have here are the ones with the most positive attitude. It's much more than scores, it's much more than need or poverty, as I would like to use that word. It's all about the attitude the children have. And they can discern them, they can see, and the mindset the child has. And that criteria of selecting children has really humbled me. And maybe in my next effort of advancing education, I would do a course in psychology so that I could be, Salah, I will invite you. We do it together. So, scholars, let's put our hearts together for the boards that walked down the alleys to see and to verify what you had done on the board. Yeah. Thank you very much. You did it too early because you hadn't recognized them. Let me ask the board members in the room to be upstanding as we recognize them. Remembering the many hours they sat there to select, to shortlist. You can imagine shortlisting 114,000 scholarship applications down to a number that they could interview, down to a number that they could visit at home. Please, board members, be upstanding. That's just a sample. Very good. Scholars, let's recognize them. Why don't we give them a standing ovation? Scholars, let's give our boards a standing ovation. Oh, very good. Yeah, that's much better. They sat, they worked for our sake, and they exercised Solomonic. Once again, when standing, let's put our hearts together for our board. Thank you very much, board members. Salah, those board members give their time year after year. They may sit down for a week and then do verification for a week. So 2 weeks of devotion every year without even a cup of tea being provided. That is the devotion I've seen. And if we put all these components together, the guardians, the teachers, the pupils themselves, the government, equity, and the selection, you'll see this is a community-based program. And that is why this program has been so powerful, because our interests are aligned, and we can correct each other. And everybody plays a role based on their competence. So I would really like to ask our governors and also our honorable members of parliament that if we could join hands together into one big program which is community-based, then maybe we could make a bigger difference. Much bigger difference. Lastly, let me recognize the teachers of high school. Today we are commissioning this program. We are saying we are handing over the students to our secondary school principals, secondary school teachers, and expecting that after 4 years, all our kids will manage to transit, they will complete, none of them will drop out of school, that after 4 years we'll sit here and say we can account for 1,283 students. That big work of getting 30 students in Form 1, handing over 30 students in Form 4, and seeing the 30 students all go to university is a lot of work. And on behalf of all these teachers, really, today represented by those present, and more so by our host, Florence Garari, we are very grateful. We know how difficult it is. For the board members, it might be 2 weeks. For equity, it might be a week every year. But for the secondary school teachers, it's an everyday event. And I really want to appreciate what you have been able to do for us. Now, I want to take a few minutes to do what I had been invited to do. I haven't started doing what I had been invited to. Salah, bear with me. I had been invited by Dr. Beth, the director in charge of this program, to come and share a few minutes with our scholars as they prepare to report to school on Monday. And I want to start by having appreciated everybody, and even MasterCard Foundation, KFW, World Bank, for really working with us for 12 years, for funding this program in whichever way they have done. I want to say with a lot of humility that we are here today because we have recognized that the scholarship alone is not sufficient. It's not really sufficient. We have realized that it takes the scholar themselves to succeed. But the scholars sometimes are too young to realize, and they only realize they wasted an opportunity when they are 30 years old, and regret and live a life of regret. Today, I was asked to come and try as much as possible to ensure none of our scholars here will waste the opportunity of the scholarship they have been given, and that they will not live a life of regret because of an opportunity that came their way and then failed maybe to fully utilize that opportunity. And I've been asked to talk about when I was their age. Scholars, I is about 45 years ago, when I could have sat where you are as I headed to Form 1 in Ishagaki Secondary School. My circumstances and situation was not different from yours. As I walked in, all of you had shoes. I went to Ishagaki Secondary School on the first day without shoes. My circumstances were not different. But look at me here. I have a pair of shoes. It's a journey. And what it has taught me is that it doesn't matter where you start, it's where you head. You start without shoes, but head with shoes. That to me is what really matters. It's not where you start. You may have been really sympathizing with yourself and hating yourself. But that documentary was supposed to tell you there is nothing unique about you and your circumstances and situation. That's the circumstances of thousands of kids. And at least we have evidence is the situation and the circumstances of the 114,000 kids who applied for these scholarships. So from the day one, accept your circumstances and situation as normal. And my objective today is to try and raise your spirit and lift you from a situation of self-pity. There is nothing to pity yourself about. And I really want to say the circumstances and situations we are in are circumstances of life. But we make progress because we accept our circumstances. And once you accept your circumstances, then you say, I wish to change my circumstances, and then start making progress. That's the beginning. But if you get stuck, that I'm from a very humble background, we are poor, and you even extend it to yourself. After 45 years, I have come to appreciate and understand there is no child who is poor. Because if there was a child who was poor, then I could have been a very poor child. But here I am. The poverty that people could have associated with me, I later realized it had nothing to do with me because no child is expected to be rich. There is no child who is rich or poor. It may be the circumstances of their parents. So I want to urge you today not to take the burden that is not yours and start condemning yourself and having pity about yourself. The circumstances that we are talking about, the people we are supporting to pay school fees is not you, it's your parents. It's your parents who are not able to pay school fees. And I hope once that you get that distinction, you realize like you are like any other child. And then you start your journey. If like me, you didn't have shoes, then you purpose your life that one day I will wear shoes. I lost my dad when I was a toddler. And my late mother, Grace, was left with 6 children to look after. My late Grace, Elimu, had not gone to a formal school. Cash crops at independence, Africans had not been allowed to grow coffee or tea, or to even own a grade cow. So you can imagine the kind of life in the village of making a living. School fees was only 2 shillings. Just 2 shillings. But my mother could not raise the 2 shillings. And I depended on a bursary scheme. Those who are closer to my age, the government used to use the chiefs to administer some bursaries. And we could camp at the chief's camp and eventually get some bursary and proceed with education. That's how it was. But that didn't hold me. And what I have come to appreciate today, looking back, is how truthful and maybe how wise Nelson Mandela was when he said, education is the most powerful tool of transformation. Education transformed me from the boy without shoes in 1977 as I entered Ishagaki High School to the CEO of Equity Bank, the largest bank in East and Central Africa. Now, you can see. You can see the transition that education can make you make. If it happened to me, it will happen to you. Because I've come to appreciate over years that the future is not a continuation of the past. We can separate ourselves with our present and our past, but we have to do things the right way and have the right aspect. So when I look back, what made me change my circumstances? And I'm sharing this in the hope that you could, like me, choose to change your circumstances. I think the first thing was my desire to be a somebody one day. I had a purpose that one day I will be a somebody and I will bring pride to my family, and particularly my mother Grace, when I appreciated how much she had sacrificed to see me. My mother sacrificed like your parents and guardians have sacrificed to see you here. She sacrificed enough to see me reach a level of getting a bursary for Ishagaki Secondary School. And I felt I owed her a debt of gratitude, of making her proud. And I had a really burning desire that I would really one day move my mother out of a thatched house. And I'm glad that it did happen during her lifetime. So the issue is, from today henceforth, scholars, we must have a purpose for which we are going to use this scholarship for. A purpose that we say, we got this scholarship, but this is what this scholarship is going to help me do. A clear objective, a clear dream, a clear purpose that we shall pursue relentlessly. And then we can be looking back and say, see what I did with the scholarship that I was granted in 2021. You look back with a lot of pride. The second thing was that I chose not to live in the past, but to focus on the future that I wanted to build. I don't want to say you completely separate from the past, but don't live in the past, but constantly visit the past. I always visit the past even today and say, wow, what progress have I made? Well, I live in the present, but always visit the past so that you can celebrate what your achievements are. As you heard this, we started we began the day celebrating you for what you have achieved. That celebration of achievement is very, very important because it energizes you. And you can't celebrate your achievement if you have no rear mirrors to look back what you have achieved. The greatest achievement for me was I moved my family from a garage-to-dust house. You know, it dawns on me that I lived in a garage-dust house. And it's not only in a garage-dust house, those who are my age. I lived with the chicken, I lived with the goats, and the calves. I hope I was not alone. Anybody in the room who lived with the goats and... oh, yeah, there are a few who are my age, of course. Well, there was chicken, there was goats, there was lamb, and calves. All together, we lived in one room. When I tell my children about this, they tell, Dad, draw for us. Draw for us. Where you, how you know, they thought there could be compartmentalization. So when I look at it and say, in one generation, I've been able to get this. In one generation, I was a beneficiary of a scholarship. I educated my children without a bursary, and I started giving scholarships. And you start celebrating, and you feel good about yourself. And you get encouraged to do more. You must always celebrate your achievements. Because it's by celebrating that we get inspired and that we get fulfilled that we are making progress. The third aspect is needed to think how to manage the self. I can tell you that you are your greatest enemy. You have dreams and you have a purpose, but you are also the greatest challenge to that purpose. You must be able to lead yourself. You must be self-led. Lead yourself. Because if you don't, then there is a challenge. You're going to go through a very momentous phase in the next 4 years. When I look at my daughters out there, I see majority of you are very flat-chested. Stay here with Principal Florence. After 4 years, you look very different. Oh, yeah, she's doing this. She's suggesting if it is the girls, you start developing hips, you start developing breasts. For the boys, after 4 years, you might be borrowing a shaver from me because you have grown beards. Because that's our process of development. But that process of development is not a very simple process. It's a transformation of the body because of hormones. Today, with us, our children, 4 years, you'll be getting the ID from the Kenya government, and you'll be labeled an adult. You'll have joined the majority age, and you'll be labeled an adult. So to transit from child to adult, at the same time when you are in secondary school, that transition, that evolution, that development is driven by chemicals in the body. Doctors will call them hormones that tries to shape you. Unfortunately, hormones trigger emotions. And if you don't manage your emotions, then emotions manage you. The emotion starts managing you. And your life ceases to be led by yourselves, but led by the emotions that are being generated by hormones. You stop using the head and you start using the body without rationalizing. My children, you must rise up and be able to manage your emotions using your head, rationalizing. And I want to say to the boys that beards are good. At the age of 60, you will never see me with the beard. I wake up every morning to shave them. I know you want them. I wish I could give you mine. But let me say it this way. If you want beards, beards are not for school. Beards, you can grow them after school. Don't antagonize teachers because you want to look, you feel. My beautiful girls and daughters, you'll be finishing high school when you are 18. I have no doubt that you are better equipped than my mother. My mother lived until she was 98. My daughters, with modern medicine, with modern science, I have no doubt in my mind you will outlive my mother. You live 100 years. So you have 100 years minus 18 years after Form 4. How many years? Yeah? 80 what? 82 years. Those are years that you can make the choices. Now, mine, I'm asking you, why don't you make the 4 years purposeful and have discretion of whatever you want to do for 84 years? That's all that we are asking ourselves. We are saying, don't seek the pressure of the body as directed by the hormones. Delay gratification, finish your education, and then you will have 82 years without anybody being bothered about what you do with your life. Principal Florence, maybe you could start the children see you. Was there a time you were 18? She says there was a time she was 18. Today we will not discuss her age. But the hormones that were troubling her when she was 16, they still exist. So she says so much. What we are saying is that by delaying gratification and pressure for 4 years, you will not have lost anything. The hormones will be in work many years ago, and you can seek whichever pressure at the right time. This is time for education, my daughters and my sons. And I want to plead with you, thank you very much that for the next 4 years, our purpose is to achieve the grades that open up the doors for our dreams and our objectives that we have set ourselves. Our bodies will be there to give us pressure, boys, until. I also confirm, like Florence, boys, let's greet each other. I still also feel a boy even today. So don't need worry. There is nothing that you lose after 4 years that you think, if I don't do this, what will happen in 4 years? That's a gift for life. Unless, Bishop, it is different with you. Even the bishop says. So essentially what we are saying is that our sons and daughters, let's appreciate what the Bible says. There is time for everything. There is time to be a child, and there is a time to be an adult. When I was a child, I did the things a child is supposed to do. When I became an adult, I did the things that an adult should do. Let's not get confused. And children start doing things of the adults, and then adults doing the things of the children. You could imagine what a confused world will be. There is a phase in life for everything. We will not talk to you. There will be no school rules. There will be no school regulations after 18. You will have the ultimate freedom to yourself. The rules and regulations in school are the most powerful tools of helping you to manage yourself. If the emotions became too powerful, go to the principal and ask, how do I handle this situation? Or look at the rules. What do the rules say? And just obey the rules. But use your head. Use your head. And that is why I said, let's lead ourselves. The second one, or the third one, let's avoid peer pressure. Peer pressure. One of the things I've come to appreciate today is how much wisdom and knowledge is out there from those who have walked the path that I desire to walk. As we said, your teachers were once 14 and 18. Your parents were once 14 and 18. They made all the mistakes you are likely to make over this phase. Be a wise child who says, I will not learn with my mistakes, I will learn with the mistakes of my teachers and the mistake of my parents. Seek the counsel of the wise one. But it will be very unfortunate for you to seek the counsel of your peers because they know nothing. They are groping in darkness like yourself. Yours is experimental. So let's seek the wise counsel. And let me say, we started by appreciating our parents. It was only when I was around 27, when I got my firstborn, that I realized how much my mother loved me. And I don't know whether it is true of all adults here. You never realize how much you are loved by your parents until you have your own children. But you don't need to have your own children to know your parents love you. We stood here and appreciated them and said if it were not for them, we would not be here today. The sacrifice they have made. I've come to appreciate that every human being, whether it's the queen, the king, or the pauper, they are equally vulnerable at birth. The only thing they do when they come to this world, the first one is to cry because of how vulnerable they are. But their parents don't run away. They nurture that very vulnerable newborn until they become a somebody. That nurturing requires a lot of love. That's when I realized how much parents love. If parents truly love you that much, then they should be your best counsel because they counsel you with love. They wish you well. The second counseling, of course, is from your teachers. Teachers are professionally trained to nurture you, to become a somebody. And for that reason, they are best professionally positioned than anybody. Go to your teacher and seek their help. Don't be shy and never seek your help from your colleagues because it will be experimental. They will experiment with you. They will give counsel to you and ask you to do as they say to see what the consequences could be. Please avoid seeking counsel to those who are not wise. Counsel is sharing of insights and wisdom. You can't seek it to those who have no wisdom and then say that is counsel. That is not counsel. You can't seek it from your peers. And of course, because the Kenya government, through the Ministry of Education, has mandated us to make this, to manage this program. The fourth source of counsel should be the Equity Group Foundation and the entire Equity Group. From today, you'll be attached to a branch manager, and maybe I will ask our BGDMs to be upstanding. These 17 branch managers will from today accept to be your foster parents. They will nurture you. You will be the 13th cohort. They will be able to nurture you. They have learned how to manage. And myself, I'm also studying, as you can see. And for those who have been saying they are orphans, from today you cease to be your orphan, because I call you my son and my daughter. And that is why I am here today to tell you this is more than a scholarship. This is love to a child. Those studying will exercise a lot of love to you. They will treat you like they treat their children. And we seek God's favor and blessing to our children by treating you with a lot of love, because we know God is not debtor to any man. He pays debt. And we always hope, and we witness every day, that the favor we extend to you, God extends the same favor to our children. So we are one family. And I hope as I call you son and daughter, I will also have the privilege of hearing you call me dad. Because then we are a family. And I tell you genuinely, we come with clean hearts to nurture you, to be like our children. And take advantage of that. The greatest component of this program is not about money. I've come to appreciate what children need most is not the assets we give them, is the love and affection and the counsel we give them. That will be plentiful. Dr. Beth here, Beth, you are not you are not a branch manager, is Director of Education Program in Equity Group Foundation. 20 years ago, she would be sitting where you are seated. She went to do the program, went to Nairobi University, went to Yale University for her master's in the US, then went for her PhD in Canada, and then decided to come and give back. So that is why we call her Dr. Beth. And as you can see, maybe she looks also as short as you. So have wonderful interactions with Dr. Beth. Dr. Beth has about 50 members of staff. They have no other job other than to look after you. Then the schools that you go have been very kind and generous. Each school has given us a scholar's mentor who is dedicated to do nothing else, and Beth trains them every holiday so that they could mentor you like parents, look after you like your own children. And then we have a gender mentor just to help deal with gender issues within the school. So it's a comprehensive program that I wish you take advantage of so that every facet of the program tries to complete you. But you can only benefit if you choose to use the program. Let's put our hearts together to our foster parents. Thank you, colleagues. So that team make use of them. But all those people we have talked about here, and what we need to do and what we need not to do, will not work if you don't clothe yourself with values that make you an easy child to relate to and an easy child to love. We said you are going through a very turbulent phase with huge hormonal changes. But at the same time, your personality is being shaped. I want to lead kindly and plead with you that you embrace values and behavioral attributes that shapes the person you be. They always say you could be able to manage to bed a tree when young. We are in that phase that you are agile, you are flexible, and adaptable to change. Pick a few values that then when you leave them, we see the behavior that you desire us to see. And you live that way for 4 years, then that institutionalizes itself as your character. And then we say, wow, that is his personality. That is her personality. Now, the power of values is that they mold you to the man or the woman you wish to be. They mold you. And then that is the character, that is the person you become. That's why we use the phrase personality. It's personality. The right values will make you a very pleasant person to relate to support, and to nurture. But while I give you the freedom of the values you may want to pick, there are two that may be universal for us as scholars. The first one is humility. Humility, one, is acceptance of who we are. We have come from a humble background. Don't deny. Don't start acting who you are not. Humility might be the most powerful value for us because it makes us grounded. It makes us helicopters that can land, like the one we have had landing here. Don't be a helicopter that is never able to land or start walking on water because you are in Pagani Gauss. Walking on air because you are in Pagani Gauss. Remain grounded. And the only thing that can ground you is humility. The second thing, humility makes you very adorable to others. Teachers want to make you their best student because of your humility. Humility allows others to collaborate and to support you. Your parents make it easy. The equity branch managers find it easy because of the person that you are. You are pleasant to deal with because of your humility. The second character is reverence. Given our circumstances and our situation and the change that is going through, the best we can ever do is to acknowledge that these favors happening in our lives, favors to get a full scholarships with everything provided, a foster parent, a board that selects you. For me, I see it as divine. As you heard when I was appreciating the board, I don't know how they picked you out of 11 applicants. To me, I want to say they were appointed by God to give you the favor. It's God's favor through the board. And that's why earlier on I called it Solomonic wisdom. And if you know you have God's favor upon you, then you should live a life of reverence. The fear of God is the beginning of, and pride becomes, it's all clear. Humility is the opposite of pride. God's reverence and favor is upon you. The question is, what would make you lose God's favor? And if I were you, I would live a life of fear of losing God's favor. If there is anything you need, and I pray every day, is to continue to enjoy God's favor. When I look at my life, I see miracles. I don't see my effort. I'll tell you a story, just to see. After finishing school, at the age of 28, I was given a chance to lead Equity. Equity Building Society then was number 66 out of 66 in Kenya. It was number last. It had only a total asset of 22 million shillings. It had 17 employees, and it had under 3,000 customers. Today, Equity is the largest bank in East and Central Africa. Not in Kenya, in East and Central Africa. The number of customers have moved from 2,892 to over 15 million customers. The number of branches have moved from 4 to over 400 branches in 6 countries. And the number of staff have moved from 17 to 9,800. And the total assets has moved from 22 million shillings to 1.12 trillion shillings, making us the largest company in assets in Eastern and Central Africa. Now, when you look back, that semi-orphan brought out by a single widowed mother in the village of Nyakatogo. When I look at it, I reconcile. To believe it, I always pitch myself, and it's only when I feel pain, I say it is true. Jogona from Nyakatogo village. You know, I've been favored. And I look at it. When you look at my bio, I invite you to check my bio. I've been on the advisory board to the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for 8 years. I was on the advisory board of President Clinton, the Clinton Global Initiative, for 8 years. I was on the President Obama's Initiative for Global Development for 8 years. I'm on the advisory board of the World Bank for the last 4 years. Now, when you look at it, you ask, the same boy who went to school without shoes? How do you reconcile this? And my reconciliation is that God is at work, and I'm favored. When you acknowledge God's favor, then you live a life of reverence, of fear not to lose God's favor. And then I know, and I acknowledge it's not righteousness, but I make my effort. I make every effort. The favor is not because of my righteousness, my grace, but I make every effort, and I live a life of gratitude. And I also know that favor is not mine alone. I try to share the favor with others, because God's favor is for all, and you shouldn't. Now, when you acknowledge that, then what happens is that you also peak. You had the values, you have reverence to God, you then seek God more and more and more. And you try to live by the rules. And that is why the fifth person you should always consult and seek counsel from is your religious leader. Once you pray that, then things becomes much, much better. So you have 4 people to go to. When you want to go very fast, you do it alone. But when you want to go far, you go with others. Religious leader, teachers, parents, equity, the board, the selection committee, and all that. When you put all those things together, there's 3 things that are assured. That your value system will be in the right place. Your value system will be in the right place. Your academic excellence is assured. And self-leadership is guaranteed. And then your purpose is assured. And the Wings to Fly and the Elimu scholarship will never be a concern or a source of regret of a wasted opportunity. It will be, like Nelson Mandela, be the most powerful tool of transforming yourself first, transforming your family, and then stepping out boldly to transform the world to the world you would like to see. As I close, to those much has been given, much is expected. Grievance taught us. I want to say you have received much from your parents, from your teachers, from the selection board, from the government, from equity, more than any other child in this country. Nothing, we expect nothing out of you. And there is no obligation to you. Our desire is that you succeed. We are all supporting you to succeed. But when you succeed, we urge you to remember to keep the bridge of success open. Don't cross the bridge. To that which has been done to you, please do to others, so the world becomes a better place for all of us. And that we continue creating a sensitive world where we care for one another. With those many, many words, I want to say it's a little my pressure to hand over to your secondary school teachers who will be interacting regularly, and that will have a usual annual congress that will come and pray together, chat together, and do everything together. But as I close, I want to share with you, we saw a story of a Nairobian who was ahead of you and was in this hymn hall, I believe, 4 years ago. That is Miriam Karaoke. Miriam, where are you? Come forward, my daughter. I will wear my mask. I will not compromise you. Please. So I'll give Miriam a couple of minutes to share her story, her journey of life, and how, after being a Wings to Fly beneficiary from Mathare last year, we got an A from Miriam while still staying in Mathare. So if you thought A's are for children from Muthaiga, you are mistaken. A is for a student who seeks an A, who purposes to get an A. Carefully listen to her story. And if you thought your story, she humbled me. I thought going to school without shoes was something that I could show off with. I'm now ashamed to say I was needed, because Miriam taught me that circumstances can vary, but 4 years later, Miriam has demonstrated her future is not a continuation of our present. Please. Let the mic be clean for you.
Thank you very much. I'm greatly honored to be here, standing before you, and just being given this chance to talk to you guys. To begin, our chief guest, my daddy. I just call him my daddy because he's worth it. And all the invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, and the scholars. Good morning. Okay, my name is Mariana Wanjiru Karaoke. I just completed my Form 4 this year in April, and I have been a Wings to Fly scholar since 2017. And this journey has been very great, and I'm greatly honored because this chance is not obvious. It's not a normal thing to every child. It's quite an honor. And you, the scholars, being given this chance, you should not take it for granted, because as you have heard the statistics, a few are the only ones who have been chosen, and that is you guys. So make sure that this opportunity you have been given, you utilize it to the maximum, and make sure that after the 4 years, you come out better than you really are right now. Okay, so for me, I was born in the streets, and just like any other kid, you grow up from where you are born, you adjust to that life. So I adjusted to the street life. I used to go with my parents. We go eat leftovers from the garbage trunks. I take my rucksack. We go collecting plastics around the estates, the roads. It's been quite difficult, and I knew that I didn't want this life for myself. I didn't choose this life. And I knew that I wanted to be someone in this life. I wanted to come and make my parents proud, remove them from where they are, and take them to better places. So we survived in the streets. Luckily, we got supporters who rented a house for us here in Mathare, in Mlango Kubwa, just here. And I've lived in the slums. I've lived in Mathare slums, and now I'm living in Huruma, in a place called Ghetto. And being given this opportunity to speak in front of very great people, I didn't know that I would come this far, and I'm very grateful. So my greatest advice to you is that once you go to the to your various secondary schools, don't forget where you have come from. Embrace. I know there is a lot of peer pressure. You'll go there, you meet rich kids, and you'll be tempted to forget and even hide that you are a Wings to Fly scholar. Once you do that, you've lost yourself. It will suppress you, and you won't bring out the best that is required of you. All of you can make it, and you can even do greater than what I have done. And just be focused and aim at remaining in this program, because this Equity Bank does not, once you have completed your Form 4, it does not leave you there. It gives you more opportunities, even for university. So once you go to secondary schools, remember where you have come from. Remember our daddy here. He's a father of many. And I'm really grateful to him. And don't let him down. People have put resources so that you can learn. At least you know that you are assured of going to high school. Someone will be paying your school fees. But remember, there are other kids out there who don't even know who's going to pay for their school fees. So don't take this opportunity for granted. Don't lose yourself. Remember your families. And just be the person to make the change in your family. For me, I consider my family the most, and the reason I work so hard is so that I can remove my family from the ghetto and just take them to a better place. And so that I won't have to live as well in that life. Desire to be a person, not just a person, but a person of greatness. Desire to bring out your full self. And don't ever settle for less. Thank you very much. And even as you begin your journey in August, I wish you all the best. And I believe that more of you will be given this opportunity to speak to other scholars and be a motivation to them. So don't forget yourself, and I wish you all the best, and congratulations.
Very privileged during the home visit, to visit Miriam. Come. And so I think 2 years ago, I was privileged to be visited by 9 parliamentarians from Germany, KFW. I said, I know of a girl I visited. Let's go and check on her because they sponsor. And we went to Miriam's home and we found her. It was during the holiday. When they got the results of Miriam, because they kept on asking, what did Miriam achieve? When we sent them the results, they sent journalists. When was this? Last week but one, to come and document her case, simply because she had proved it was worthy for the German taxpayers to spend money to change lives. But nobody changed Miriam's life. She has changed the life herself. As you heard, she's now on the university mentoring program. And we are really praying that God favors you with an admission to Harvard. And Beth is somehow, as we were talking there, whispered to me that maybe she wants to really mentor you herself so that maybe you can go to Yale like her. So she said on Monday, report to her office and you work together. Thank you very much, Miriam. So essentially, that's what we are saying. Don't regret after 4 years that we were given a chance, but you didn't do everything you could ever have done to change your life. Others are changing their lives. If you thought your circumstances were hard, others have overcome greater circumstances. With those many, many words, Dr. Sarah Ruto, it's now my really singular honor and privilege to invite you as our chief guest to talk to us. Dr. Sarah Ruto is the Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Education. Sarah.
Okay. Good morning. Hamjambo. Ebu wave kidogo nione. Mko sawa? Na hiyo mkono ingine tena tufanye exercise kidogo. Asante sana. Thank you very much. When my boss asked me to represent him in this gathering, I did not know that I was coming into... I have been in education before. I have read about Wings to Fly. I have written about it. But sitting over here, experiencing it, I did not know that I needed also to carry a handkerchief, because there are moments when it was very emotive, but more importantly is that this is a story of hope and a story of what can be and what we must always achieve. So thank you very much for this invitation. As you can see, I am still a student of protocol, so I even forgot to start by saying, Chairman, Dr. Mwangi, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, forgive me for that. Let me just continue with the spirit, because this is how so very powerful this is. And it began with when I came in, and I told Dr. Mwangi that, I have always seen you from far, and I'm really happy to be close to you. It is good we are not shaking hands. If it was those days, people would say I'd not wash my hands now that I've shaken it. And then Florence was my classmate, my yearmate, 30 years ago in university. So very proud, Florence, that you are managing this school that I think we had 150,000 children applying for how many places? I think she has only 300 vacancies in Form 1 and had 150,000 applying. But they applied because this is a reputation they want to be associated with, and therefore represents, I think, the teachers that we are talking about. So, and then when I was walking in and the young scholars were waving, I told Dr. Mwangi, the CEO, that definitely you're not a politician, because now you would have been waving back and saying, these are the votes I'm going to be getting in future. But should you, I think, venture that route one time, the goodwill that you have done, I think, will pay out. Would you vote for him? Yes. So just in case, but I'm not saying you should. But it is to show that when you invest right, then the good comes for you. So those were just nice experiences I was experiencing as I was coming. But I do have a few things to talk about, just 8 of them. And so let me now go to the little talk that I had. And the first is to start by congratulating the Equity Group, congratulating all the people who have come together that has allowed this to happen. And there are many such events that will be happening in the country. So I start with recognizing the personal and corporate commitment made by Dr. Mwangi and the Equity Group. Personal because it takes personal leadership to start something. And then you bring the corporate together. I commend the steady investment that we have enjoyed in Kenya in the scholarships from this foundation. I think you're still supported by the MasterCard Foundation. And then very recently in the Elimu yetu, we got the Global Partnership for Education known as GPE that has put in money that has come through the World Bank. So all this, we also have other banks in Kenya, I think KCB support. We have individuals. I know many of you here give space school fees for somebody. So all these personal corporate contributions are worthy to be acknowledged and worthy to be celebrated. So we thank you for your personal and corporate contribution that has shown what can be done in Kenya that can root a leadership in terms of how we think about education for our children. Public and private partnerships are entrenched in law, and we have an act. And the government therefore sees it has to play a very important role in terms of providing the regulatory framework, the enabling framework that will allow actions like this to happen. Because you can see when public and private come together, as Dr. Mwangi said in his speech, then you achieve a lot more. The government, for example, has had free primary education for many years, and it started a long time. With various presidents, they have always attempted free primary. In the 1970s, President Kenyatta, the first one, started with free primary in isolated counties. And this was up to grade 1 up to 4. Then it was moved on to the whole of primary. Then President Moi again tried again. President Kibaki again. Then after that, we had it moving from free primary to free secondary. So there has been a continuous effort to ensure that we ensure that every child gets a right to education. And this has been made policy. And after that, there has been budgetary allocation as well. Each child in primary gets 1,420 shillings. Each child in secondary gets a capitation grant of 22,000, whether in primary, in a day secondary, or whether in a boarding school. You get 22,000. Disabled children get more. So if we have a child with disabilities in secondary education, they get 22,000, whether they're going to a day school or a boarding school, and then 35,000 per child if you have disabilities. So these are the efforts from the government because we know that education is important. And other than that, then provides the legal framework, regulatory framework that will allow actions like this to move on. Because when we come together, we do much more. And Equity has grabbed this opportunity of having this framework to do much more. And that is why it is worthwhile to celebrate this. It is in the same vein in these partnerships that, as I mentioned, through money that we got from the Global Partnership of Education known as GPE, it has supported, given funding for the Elimu scholarship. And I thought it was important to share with you that our president, His Excellency the President Uhuru Kenyatta, is actually co-hosting the next Global Partnership for Education Replenishment Grant. In simple English, this means that the global community come together to bring money, replenishment, so that we can have funding, such as what we are enjoying over here, that can go to support ministries of education. And our president, later on this year, together with the Prime Minister for Britain, will be hosting, I think it is the 4th, or is it the 5th, replenishment grant. This shows you that we have a leadership that has put education at the front. And so the rest of it is for us to do what we need to do, because the leadership is committed to education, the policies are committed. We are now at that phase where we can move beyond access to focus on quality and on learning. And this is what we are seeing today. I think at this point I'd like to also appreciate the value of setting traditions. And Daktari, I think this is a tradition you are setting. The same way as when you think about the tradition Griffith set when he started the Starehe Boys, and later on Starehe Girls. Later, other people started Starehe Girls. A tradition that, as a society, we need to look out for each other. That we need to be mindful to each other. That we need to reach out to each other. It is a worthy tradition. And so I have heard all of you are calling Daktari Baba. Ama ni daddy? Ni daddy. Oh, si Baba. Baba ni... Apologies, daddy. So I have heard that all of you, how many are you are calling Daktari daddy? Let me see your hands. So if it is true you are calling him and you mean it, then it is up to you to also continue that tradition. Because with that tradition of giving that has been given, tomorrow there will be somebody else who will need a hand from you, and therefore you will give it. And so when we as adults set a tradition, and a good tradition, then you follow it and you bequeath the other generations. Scholarship holders, you have heard a lot, and I cannot even come anywhere close to the personal story that Dr. Mwangi has shared in his keynote address, his experiences. I cannot come anywhere closer next to the documentaries, the stories that we saw in the documentary and from Mariana. And I think many of you have that. And what I was seeing when all of you were speaking, and from what I saw, is the richness that you have, the richness in determination, the resilience. And I think these are important qualities that are not bought by money, which you have. Therefore, I agree with what has been stated over here, that none of you are poor. Many people may have been labeling you that you come from, what are the words that I use? Poor homes, poverty, socioeconomic, impoverishment. No. What I see with you are the skills that are demanded by the 21st century. You actually have the skills that allow one to succeed in the 21st century. Because the skills for the 21st century are skills such as those you have. And I can summarize it as grit. And this is what I saw in Maria. Grit. The determination and focus to do it and to make it, because you know you have this opportunity. Now, if you do not have resilience and grit, even if you have money with you, you will falter along the way, utapotea. But you have these values because perhaps the hardships that you had, or the parents, the love from the parent that you may have had, or the guardian, is what has built in you this value. So capitalize on these values that you have, these soft values, because these are the transferable values that you have. If today an opportunity is tough, you will find another because you have resilience, you have determination, you have grit. Celebrate those. As has been stated over here, the money that you're being given is only going to support you. And so always seize that opportunity like there was none other. Seize this opportunity of wings to fly like there was none other. Make it work like it matters today more than tomorrow. Equity, I know, is a very lovely sponsor. Thank you very much for that. I have been to schools where there are stories of girls who had, and in this school I was in, a girl was going through a very tough time, mental health issues, and Equity came. I think it must have been the bank, the managers. There must be somebody who is assigned to the schools. It must be this team who are always there reaching out, asking what else can we do. And it is, you are so very valued to have such a sponsorship that goes beyond just giving money, that will be also building you. Equity will offer you skilling. I do not know if you still attach these graduates to a training program for a period of time after school. Imagine, scholars, you're actually going to have an opportunity through the Wings to Fly and Equity program to move from learning to earning. Can we say that again? Learning to? Because that is the purpose of why you're going to be in secondary schooling for 4 years, and after that, because you're being skilled so that you can become somebody who, no, you are a somebody, but you can start doing what you need to do because your families expect a lot from you. I know many of them were celebrating you and have put hope in you, and Equity and others are there to support you. The government is there to support you so that you can move from learning to earning. So the one final thing that I will say before I sit down, because you have listened to a lot of good words, is that the scholarship impact will be felt and will be greater in terms of the monetary support if you are in a boarding school. So I am hoping, how many of you have been called to day schools? So all of you are in boarding, and that is good. Because with the capitation grant from the government of 22,000, it is sufficient to support education in a day school in terms of the monies. I know there's a lot of support in the program that comes. But we know that one of the things that has kept people from hard socioeconomic backgrounds away is monies that are mostly associated with boarding, fees with boarding, transport to go to those schools of repute that are, or schools that children desire. And so because of this, we therefore want that the scholarship holders, especially for the Elimu Elimu scholarship program, should benefit children who are transiting to boarding schools. Because with that package, it can allow you not to ever say that as a Kenyan child, at least you who were selected, that you are not able to go to the school you had been called to because of money. That would be a failure on the part of government, indeed a failure on us. But that if you passed and you selected a school and you were called and you are able to go and you got this scholarship, then at least you'll be getting full value for this money, and it will allow us to be able to have smooth 100% transition. Because the government has, it has been put in the Constitution of Kenya holds that education is a right for 12 years. You have completed your 8 years, and therefore you have another 4 years, and the support that is happening over here is to allow that seamless transition and completion, hopefully, that you can get an education you want. So that, to borrow the words of the young lady Maria who came here, she has now become the person whom she wanted to be. You can become the persons who you want to be. And we thank you, Equity. We thank you, Selection Board, for doing the job. We thank you, teachers, field officers from education. We thank everybody in terms of coming to this collaborative effort that is allowing us to stand and witness, I think, history in the making for those of you who are here. Thank you very much.
A round of applause. A better one, please. Our chief guest, Dr. Sarah Ruto, and Daddy, allow me to say this, that these 1,200 humble, God-favored sons and daughters who have resilience and grit come from the entire sub-counties of Nairobi. We shall be able to grant them, to give them the letters of scholarship. And they actually come from Embakasi. Where are the people from Embakasi? Westlands? Dagoretti? Kamukunji? Kibra and Langata? Makadara? Kasarani? Starehe? And everybody wings here? Elimu. Now, all of them cannot come here to receive the letters. I have the honor to just have and welcome representatives to receive the letters. And as I call them, kindly step forward to receive the letters of scholarship.
Scholars, good morning. Excellent. So I'll invite the chief guest to come down here. We'll have a few letters issued out. You will receive, all of you, 3 letters, one to yourself, one to your to your secondary school teacher, and one to your guardian. So the few students that we are calling today is just representative. And kindly, if we call you, I know you're seated together, you'll come and join us at the front. So we'll start, and you know where you are. We'll start with Kennedy Mayaka. Kennedy Mayaka, come forward. And the others, please be lining up. Please be lining up. Next, I have Rogers Munene. No, come. When you're given the photo, sorry, just wait. You look at the camera, every one of you will have an opportunity. Next, I think that's Rogers. Yeah. Have your chance to take a photo. Next, we have Busolo. All right, thank you, Busolo. Congratulations. We have Rose from Kamukunji. Please be clapping for them. They're representing you. We are calling your constituency, clap for them. We have that one from Starehe. I have Mariba. Mariba is next. Let's appreciate her. Joseph is next, representing Kibra. Watu wa Kibra wapi? Peter from Makadara. Thank you. Next, we have Joanne. Joanne is from Embakasi. Please applaud her. I have Eric Omondi from Kasarani next. Eric. Next, I have Rahma Zalik. She's from Kibera. Thank you. And last but not least, Abdul Latif from Kawangware. All right, thank you very much. So we'll give back to the MC to guide us for the photo session. Oh, sorry. Representative students, kindly come The ones who received the letters, please quickly. Let's take a photo here on behalf of the others. Some of you can go on the other side. Thank you. We'd invite some of the board members, please come on front. Selection board members, kindly. Students, you're our chief guest, please, come back. Kindly. You're representing the others, eh? Please come back. Quickly, just stand in front. These are the selection board members who supported you. Some of you can come this side.
Please clap for them so that they can smile for the photo. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now we'll hand it back to the MC. I think we have a benediction.
Asante sana. So thank you very much. Having successfully completed that session, it's another moment that we really want to have a dedication for our scholars.
Before we do that, sorry. If I can have this mic on. Thank you. Scholars, you have your hand flags? Yes? Okay. Kindly be upstanding. And the camera, please, we have the team here, our chief guest. Have you been practicing on how to wave them? Excellent. So kindly wave them and look at the camera there. Are you happy beneficiaries? Scholars, oe! Scholars are. Scholars, eh? Scholars are. Thank you. I think we will have the benediction now as we are seated.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you very much. Now, at this juncture...
Sorry, Bwana MC, sorry, we are co-hosting with you. We want to balance out. Nyinyi mmepigwa picha mmefurahia. Aya, let's go to the other side, and I'm sorry, chief guests. Kindly indulge us. Let's clap for them.
So again...
And you'll also stand up again, scholars.
Kindly stand up.
Kindly stand up again.
With your flags.
So that here nilisikia kuna watu wa Kamkunji, watu wa Kasarani.
Come on, wave the flags, wave the flags. Endelea. Kumbuka vile tulisema story za video, smile as you wave it. Safi. Yes. International media is around, thank you. Global, thank you. Keep it there. Oh yes. Oh yes.
Thank you.
Asante sana. Thank you very much. At this juncture, I want to... you may be seated, tafadhali. At this time, we're going to have a short dedication and led by our religious leaders. Remember, when you listen to the speech, the keynote speech, One of the people that we need to consult is our religious leaders. And we are so honored that we have our religious leaders here today. And even more specifically, even our Muslim leaders are here on a day when we are celebrating Eid al-Adha. So, our religious leaders, I will ask you to step forward, led by Bishop James Ndongo Gashau. Kindly, all the religious leaders present, both Christian and Muslim, you shall just line up here, except the bishop, just line up here and face the students. As Bishop is preparing, I request that we maintain a moment of silence and calm. These religious leaders will raise up their hands over us, over you, as Bishop James Ndongo shall lead us in the dedication prayer. Karibu Askofu.
Thank you. Habari zenu nyote. Bwana asifiwe. Ningetaka tuamuke zote, alafu niulize all the religious leaders wainue mikono yao juu, tukaweze kubariki hao watoto wetu wanapoenda shule, kwa sababu tunajua kuna mambo mengi kule shuleni, lakini tunaamini ya kwamba Bwana atawalinda, Bwana atawainua, Bwana atawahifadhi, na hiyo miaka 4 wataenda na watarudi na ushindi, kwa sababu sasa ni kuwatuma, tunawatuma, na tunaamini ya kwamba yule Mungu ambaye aliwaita na akawaona, tunaamini ya kwamba huyo Mungu ataenda awahifadhi, wataenda wakuwe na ushindi. Wacheni tushukuru Bwana kwa sababu ya hayo. Mfalme wa amani, katika jina la Yesu tunakushukuru na tunakuinua. Tunasema ni asante kwa sababu wewe ni Mungu ambaye anaona siri ya binadamu wote. Jina lako Bwana litukuzwe, jina lako Bwana liinuliwe. Asante Bwana kwa sababu ya wakati Bwana umepeana, na Bwana tumekuwa na wakati mzuri, wakati Bwana tunawanenea watoto wetu akienda shule baribari. Jehova Bwana, tunawakabidhi mikononi mwako, tunaamini ya kwamba utawahifadhi katika jina la Yesu. Asante Bwana, utawasaidia kusimama vizuri, utawasaidia kusimama imara. Tunajua Bwana kule shuleni Jehova kuna mambo tofauti, Mungu wa rehema, lakini tunaamini ya kwamba kwa sababu Bwana wewe ndiye uliwaita, wengine Bwana hawakuwa na matumaini ya kusoma, na kwa sababu umewapatia wazazi ambao ni Equity Bank, Bwana tunawainua mbele zako Jehova, ukawabariki na ukawainue katika jina la Yesu. Kule shuleni Jehova Mungu, tunawatenga na maradhi na magonjwa, Baba ukawaride. Wengine wataenda Bwana kubari, wengine wataenda karibu Baba area ile Bwana hawajaizoea, lakini kwa sababu wewe ni Mungu, tunaomba Bwana ukawaride, tunaomba Bwana ukawainue katika jina la Yesu. Baba ukawaride na uovu wote, ukawasaidia Bwana Baba wakaweza kustahimili mambo yote Bwana watakaokuta kule. Jina lako Bwana liinuliwe. Asante mfalme wa rehema, tunakuabudu Bwana, tunakupa sifa zote, maana wewe ni Mungu ajuae kila hali ya mtu Bwana. Wewe ni Mungu ajuae hali zote za binadamu. Baba tunajikabidhi mikononi mwako, tukikabidhia watoto mikononi mwako, jina lako Bwana likainuliwe. Asante Mungu wa rehema. Baba tunakumbuka Equity Group kwa sababu ya kazi kubwa ambao wamejitolea. Ni asante kwa sababu ya kiongozi Dr. Mwangi ambao Bwana umempatia nafasi, ukampatia mawazo ya kusomesha watoto, ili Bwana watoto hawa Bwana wakawe watoto kuu katika serikali, wakawe watoto kuu Bwana katika ulimwengu. Baba ukamsaidie, nayo Ikwete Jehova, Baba ukaweze ikafanya kuendelea ile mawazo Bwana umeweka ndani yake, wacha Bwana ikaendelee katika jina la Yesu. Asante mfalme wa rehema. Biblia inasema ya kwamba asaidia mtu Bwana ni wewe anasaidia. Hivi ndivyo Bwana tunaomba jioni asubuhi ya leo ya kwamba Dr. Mwangi ukambariki pamoja na watoto wake kutoka uzao wa kwanza mpaka uzao wa 4. Baba wacha akasherekee ushindi wako, akasherekee amani yako, ukamuondolee maradhi, ukamuondolee magonjwa, ukampatia maisha marefu, ili Jehova asaidia watoto wengi kama hawa. Jina lako Bwana liheshimiwe. Asante mfalme wa ajabu. Baba tunakupa sifa, Baba tunakuinua kwa sababu Bwana unaweza yote. Baba ukamsaidie, ukasaidia watu wako. Jina lako Bwana liheshimiwe. Asante mfalme kwa sababu ya shule hii ambao Bwana watumishi wamekanyanga. Baba tunaachilia baraka, tunaachilia ushindi katika jina la Yesu. Mwalimu mkuu pamoja na watoto ambao wanashiriki hapa ambao wanasomea katika shule hii, Baba tunaweka mikononi mwako. Baba tunaomba ukawabariki. Jina lako Bwana likaheshimiwe. Asante mfalme kwa wote Bwana wamekuja katika vacation C. Baba ni unainua mbele zako. Baba na nena ukawabariki. Baba ukawainue katika kila hali zote, zikabarikiwe na wewe. Jina lako Bwana litukuzwe. Tunapotamatisha Bwana ibada hii Bwana, tunajikabidhi mikononi mwako. Watoto wakienda shule Bwana, tunaachilia baraka, wakaende na baraka, wakaende na ushindi, wakaende na mamlaka yote katika jina la Yesu. Tunakupa sifa maana wewe ni Mungu, na ni katika jina la Yesu. Asante mfalme. Baba hata tunakumbuka serikali yetu Jehova, ukapatiane amani ili watoto wakisoma wapate mahali watafanyia kazi, maana kutakuwa na amani. Jina lako Bwana liheshimiwe. Kwa yote Bwana tunaiweka mikononi mwako katika jina la Yesu, naomba na takuamini. May now the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the Amen.
Everybody
Amen.
say
Shalom,
amen.
Shalom, shalom.
Amen. 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 Thank you very much. At this juncture, I will allow the chief guest with Dr. James Mwangi, followed. The rest of us kindly be seated. Dr. James, our chief guests. As they prepare to go out, they will walk out, followed by the DSSB members and the religious leaders